Arguably one of the most famous pictures in history and one of the most recognised drawings in the world is Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. But what exactly is it? What the hell does Vitruvian mean, and why does he have 4 arms and 4 legs? Well, the answer is probably related to the place you're seated in right now. Even if you didn't know what it was called, you've almost likely seen this image before, whether the original or a parody, but simply put, it's ubiquitous. But who exactly was the Vitruvian Man? First of all, his name was derived from the name Vitruvius, but who was he? Vitruvius was possibly the most influential architect of all time, but not because of anything he designed. In truth, he does not appear to be a particularly notable architect. Rather, it is due to something he authored and wrote.
Who's that Pokemon?
Vitruvius was a Roman military engineer and architect who worked with Julius Caesar in the 1st century BC. In his latter years, presumably around 30 BC, he wrote and produced the book De Architectura, the sole existing architectural work from antiquity. It is within this book that Vitruvius lays forth the fundamental principles of Roman architecture. Within De Architectura, Vitruvius discusses ancient systems, architect education, materials, war equipment, but most importantly, he wrote on proportion. According to Vitruvius, every single part of a structure must have an exact proportionate connection to the other, providing an overall look of harmony, elegance, and power. But yet, even this raises a central question. What is the source of these supposedly perfect proportions? Vitruvius hypothesized that the ancient architects who founded the rules of classical architecture based them on the proportions of the human body, and within De Architectura, he defined these human proportions, which is significant for us. As a result, his idea was that the architectural proportions should be drawn from the inherently harmonic connections of the human body. And that, he reasoned, was the secret to constructing a faultless edifice, and hence the cornerstone of classical architecture. When Vitruvius's book was uncovered in 1414, it generated quite a commotion, since interest in ancient Rome was booming at the time. This was due to the fact that intellectual and creative architects were interested in Roman buildings, since they greatly differed from the Gothic style that was dominant at the time. The key to eventually comprehending the Roman style was within Vitruvius's De Architectura. It was almost like the Rosetta Stone of architecture, and many others quickly picked up this new architectural language and revived it. This resulted in a flood of new architectural treatises. The first was named On the Art of Building and was written in 1452 by Giovanni Battista Alberti. It was based on both Vitruvius's work and, quote, archaeological research. And soon enough, the Renaissance had officially begun at this point. Architects were now developing structures using the principles of classic architecture as outlined by Vitruvius, complete with proportional norms and other structural and aesthetic characteristics. And finally, we get to Leonardo da Vinci, the consummate Renaissance man, one of history's greatest thinkers and an unstoppable polymath. He was born in 1452 during the height of the Renaissance, but of course he brought it to its pinnacle. Leonardo's Vitruvian Man, as the name suggests, was a notebook drawing done circa 1490 based on Vitruvius's description of human proportions in De Architectura. That is why Leonardo da Vinci created the Vitruvian Man. It was the physical and symbolic heart of the Renaissance. It was a strong, long-lasting emblem that united ancient history, classical architecture, mathematics, anatomy, sketching, and most of all, art. Vitruvius's proportions served as the foundation and inspiration for Renaissance architecture, which resurrected the classical style, and thus for neoclassical architecture, which has since reigned and expanded throughout the world, not only in clear cases like these, but also in a plethora of minor, almost imperceptible ways. It's important to remember that classical architecture is a language. Classical features include a pediment or cornice, dentils, drop keystones or orders, rustication or vermiculation, a gib surround or Venetian window. So there's a strong possibility you're in or near a structure with a classical element or influence right now. And there, in a nutshell, is the Vitruvian Man. This has been me, Jack, and shout out to all the buildings out there.